So down at the start of the Wargrave Cup between Tyne Rowing Club on the left-hand side on the Berkshire station and Cantabrigian Rowing Club from Cambridge on the right-hand side.
And both crews getting away nicely as they'll find themselves just coming out into the sunshine. They're in the shadow and the shade of the island. Earlier that was a wind shadow. Now that wind's more or less dropped across the course, and what it will be to this time, it's just a shadow from the sun, and they'll feel themselves come out here from this sort of relative darkness that you feel as you're along the island, and then you kind of come out here into the sun shines on them, and we see hopefully we're in for a really nice tight race here, Adrian.
Looks really good. Tyne have raced yesterday already and beat Henley by 2.5 lengths. And Cantabs, because they're seeded, hadn't raced yet, so they'll be a bit more nervy coming into this. And Tyne have got a good early lead, but by nothing. And here we are coming past the barrier about 2 minutes into the race, still nip and tuck.
Yeah, we could be in for a really good late race in the day, this one, with these two more or less stroke for stroke. It's hard to tell who's got the lead at this point. Looking at what the Cantabrigian crew said, the goal was firstly to get themselves qualified to race here at Henley Royal Regatta. Now they want to make sure they move through. Can they make it through to the weekend? Well, it's going to come down to how well they can now really tough out this middle section of the race. As we're looking at it, the kits are quite similar, but it's Cantabrigian on the left of our shot, the Buck station, and Tyne on the right of our shot.
Yeah, the last time Cantabrigian raced here, it was in the final of the Aspirational 8s at Henley Women's Regatta, and they were in the final and they lost to Tideway Scholars. So the B8 they just lost today in the other round, that's who beat them. So here, and there's an interesting, in the Tyne crew, the 6 and the 7 girl, a mother and daughter, and their father's the coach.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
Get a combination like that in the crew.
And they seem to be doing the job at the moment. They look like they're probably up. So Tyne on the right-hand side here, and Cantabrigian on the left in the Buckinghamshire station.
So yeah, that'd be Imogen Lee in the 7th seat. She's 26 years old. She's looking forward to joining the army in September. And there she is. And look at them, really in a tough race where you're going to need all your mental toughness and resilience. Now this is where that stuff gets built when you're in a Henley race like this, side by side with each other.
It really is. I guess they would never have raced each other because Tyne haven't been down south racing with lockdown and everything. This is a great, it's a great resurgence generally in Tyne Rowing Club. They won the Jackson Trophy at the head of the river last 2 years ago, and here the women's crew also doing a great job down the course.
Yeah, they really are, and I mean this is what it's all about. There's a fairly gladiatorial battle where, you know, we talk about technique, and the technique's pretty good in both of these crews. We talk about the physicality and the training, but then this is the bit where it really starts to be between your ears. You really start to think you've got to just tough it out and keep trying to produce good quality strokes, nothing that slows the boat down, and really giving it everything you possibly can.
And how do you manage that balance between having to be really aggressive because you need to put as much power down, but actually also being effective?
Yeah, I think it's hopefully what you've trained for, so you put yourself in difficult positions, and you sort of, all those times you've sat on the rowing machine, you've thought, I'm going to find myself side by side in a big race on the Henley course. I've toughed it out. You know, I've done my 20-minute ergos, I've done my 30-minute ergos, I've done my, 6-mile runs, whatever they might be, for these moments. And then you hope you can pay back in these moments and really just stay in control enough that you've got that sort of ice in your head, but then brave enough and strong enough that you've got that sort of fire in your belly to kind of just keep working and keep delivering one more good stroke, just one more good stroke, and you just keep hoping the other crew is going to start to weaken and start to let go. But neither of these two are.
They're not giving up. At the top of the screen, which is Tyne and Cantabs, they're slightly higher rate, but it's not really doing that much difference, is it?
Well, if anything, I can't help thinking the Cantabs at the top of the screen maybe are coming back. They're clearly behind. It's about that canvas. We call it a canvas. The length of that sort of 6 feet at the front of the boat, not canvas anymore. They got as close to canvas. Now I think maybe Tyne at the bottom of the picture are just starting to squeeze away.
It looks like maybe the Cantabs had a really big push to try and get back on terms, and Tyne had a lower stroke rate, and we're just holding them off.
Well, maybe it's one of those things, the cock's in the boat says, right, just 10 more, give me your biggest 10 strokes now, and you give them the biggest 10 strokes. but you haven't got through. So then about 10 strokes later, the cock says again, now give me your biggest 10 strokes. And if you're rowing, you can't help thinking, I've already done that once. But you have to kind of dig deeper and try and do it again.
And that's the whole thing, is that because you're in a crew with other people, you don't want to let anybody else down. So, and we saw a few people today just blowing up because they put so much power and effort into trying to win a race. There's no point waiting to the finish line to put everything in. You might as well do it now.
No, I mean, these crews have both been so brave all the way down the course. I can only think what sort of fatigue, what sort of lactic acid, how much the lungs are hurting, how much the throats are going to be hurting when they're trying to get that air in and out as they're coming down here. But it looks like it's going to be Tyne. As we pass this progress board, it's about 10 strokes to go, and they've just got to hold it together now. No mistakes.
The Tyne really have done a great job in that last minute and a half just to hold off the challenge from Cantabs. And here, as we're coming into the finish line, the last 2 or 3 strokes, Tyne Rowing Club are going to have win this heat of the Wargrave Challenge Cup by just under a length against Cantabrigian Rowing Club. What an amazing race. They were so tough, those ladies. It's great to see these women's eights racing out here.